So, how many of you guys edit beat grids? Okay, cool. A couple of you guys. For those of you who don't, you don't have to. There's no real pressure. Beat grids pop up when you have this option, simple sync and snap to beat grid on. If you turn it off completely, this is a really important thing to know. Is a lot of people that came from Scratch Live are like, hey man, I opened up Serato DJ, and by default, you know, the simple sync is on because, you know, we actually thought people wanted to use sync, but some people really have a very strong opinion about sync, as we've learned. So that's cool. Not hating, not either way. I'm indifferent, but I'm just going to let you guys know that one of the things that was deactivated when you have beat grids is the tap tempo, and that was something that a lot of people really loved about Scratch Live. Is they want to tap out of tempo, they can just tap out of tempo in Scratch Live, and you can still do that. You just have to turn off sync, and then it behaves exactly the same as Scratch Live. Now, if you open up, if you have sync and snap to beat grid on, you'll start seeing the lines. And now that's actually, I'm going to ruin this file. Sorry, man. We can figure it out later. One of the things is once you get those beat grids up, they're going to give you a whole bunch of information about the song, and it's also telling the software exactly how to behave whenever you set a loop, or whenever you you sync, or whenever you use an effect, or whenever you use a feature like the slicer or quantized cue points, how the software should behave. If you have it incorrect, the software will do not know how to behave, and it'll make a mistake, and it won't be any good for anybody, the dance floor or you. Now, fortunately, the beat grid analysis, fortunately or unfortunately, is really simple. Fortunately, if you have a song that starts on the one and plays all the way through and is quantized, it's going to get it right out the gate, as you can see it has done with Rack City. God bless DJ Mustard and his simple rhythms. Simple but effective. I'm not hating. I like Mustard a lot. So, as was this playing along, you can see these lines are lining up and they're all good. It's really straightforward. Skip to the end of the song. Still good. Now, with a song that is also quite a simple song, but doesn't have a grid on it, I'm just going to analyze it, and it has a sound at the beginning. This throws our analysis off. And that's not necessarily going to be like this forever, but that's how it is now, and this is how you get around it. Really straightforward and really simple. All you do is you load up your song, you look for the first beat. I've already got my first cue point here. So usually when I'm doing it, when I first import a song into my library, I'm looking for the first place I want to put a cue point anyways. So I usually set a cue point and I edit the grid. Now I'm going to set my analysis to analyze the track and put a beat grid on it. Here it goes. Nice and fast. Load it up. And you can see that this is actually saying that 3 is here, and that's not 1. But that I know that's 1. But you can see that 1 is all the way down here. Now that's just like a raindrop or something. So what I've got to do is I've got to go to my cue point, and I'll plug in for this because you all should hear it. The most important thing is to learn how to edit grids with the keyboard shortcuts. And if you don't have to, but it speeds things up so much. So you can click Edit Grid here, which is this little tiny little button. Or you can just press Alt and Spacebar, and that kicks you into Edit Grid mode. And if you have the same song, if you have another song loaded up, you press the Alt Spacebar again, it just goes to the other side. I hope you guys are okay with horizontal. So I've already got my cue point here, so that's straightforward. I'm just going to delete on my keyboard, or press clear, press delete on the keyboard as a keyboard shortcut. And to set the grid, and I want to set a downbeat marker, that's what it's called, downbeat marker. I'm going to press X. Now that's done, I press Enter to save. And fortunately, this song was written on a grid, so the rest of the song is actually fine. So I can just jump. Pretty good, right?
So these are different ways you can use the slicer. Unfortunately, you need hardware to use this one feature. So The slicer works in two ways, regular mode and loop mode. And what it does is it cuts the song up into slices. By default, those slices are 1 beat long, and you can access any slice within the first 8 slices and basically jump around those slices. If you want to change the size of the slice, you can do that by holding Shift, parameter to the left. That will half the size, and do it again, half it again. And so in regular slicer loop mode, what you're going to do is you're going to play the song. In fact, I'll just do this one over here. We're going to have it. We'll switch to extended mode so you guys can see it's a little better. And at the moment we're using half beat slices. So at any point I can press one of these pads and it will play that slice. And in regular slicer mode, it's going to play through the song continually, and it's basically working in slip mode, which means you can use the feature. As soon as you stop using that feature, the playhead will be where it would have been had you not used that feature. So it's always going to be playing forward. Now, let me give you another example. This is actually a lot of fun, I feel, with breaks. So if you take the time to map some breaks. So set the beat grid so the loop's kind of tight there. Now I'm just looping that break, and I take my hand out, it's going to play the break as it is. Just throw an extra little snare drum in. So it's a lot of fun. It can add another layer to your performance. How many producers do we have here? So for producers, it's a lot of fun too, because if you're in the habit like me of ripping your records into Serato, say you find some crazy whatever soul 7-inch and it's got a great little piece to it you want to use, you could rip it into Serato, take the time to set the beat grid either for the whole song or just the pulp portion you want to mess with, and then throw it into Slicer. Hit record. So you're recording in the software, you capture all the jamming that you do, and you might come up with a brilliant 4 seconds that you can turn into a song just by using this feature. This feature isn't available anywhere else. There are other like slicing features in Ableton, etc., but this is unique to Serato. This is the only place you're going to find something that works like this, always continually playing in slip mode. You can come up with some really interesting combinations. You guys have any questions about Slicer? All right, moving on. Here's another feature that you may or may not be familiar with. Anybody using the beat jump feature? No, okay. So here's your new best friend, hopefully. You may not know it even exists, and the reason for that would be that by default, beat jump is turned off. So to access it, you need to go to the setup screen and click on this little box here, show beat jump controls. Once you've done that, you're going to see a new row of numbers and arrows. And what these numbers represent are beats, and these arrows here allow you to slide the scale left and right, and these bigger arrows here will actually perform the beat jump. So what beat jump does is if your song is gridded properly, you can move the playhead through the song in time. You can jump forward or backward by whatever the amount that you set is. So let me give you an example of that. I play house music. House music often has long intros, so we don't need to hear the whole thing. If I've mixed out the song before, I might want to get ahead. So I'll jump the maximum amount, 32 beats, aka 8 bars. Maybe I can get out of these drums real quick. I'll go back to the beginning. Okay, right back to the beginning. Now I want to jump ahead. You guys can see how it works. You can easily move around that track smoothly And you get it's a tool that I think you are probably best to get hands-on with and test out, because there's all different kinds of possibilities. When you start changing the amounts, jumping around different types of music. I'll give you a couple other examples. Did you have a question?
Yeah, with the beat counts that you're on right now, is that the same for like if you use it on roll or any other like loop?
Yeah.
Like, so you have to change that setting right there where all the beats are laid out?
Yeah, so the beat jump is separate than auto loop, and I believe the loop roll conforms also to the settings of the auto loop. So again, if you have an 8-pad controller, you have access to beat jump controls. You don't have to click with your mouse on the screen, and that's going to turn up under the roll layer. So normally if you had it off, you'd have 8 pads of loop roll, which extends across that range. But in this case, once we turn it on, that bottom row is going to be beat jump. The middle 2 buttons, the middle 2 pads, they're going to be lighter in color. Those will change the scale, so you can slide it back and forth, and you know when you're at the top because the right one is blank, it's not lit up. And then the outer 2 will perform the jump itself. Go back. We'll just instant double this. So if you want to chase, very easy. So you just set for a half a beat. And it's very easy to do that with the hands, right? But if you want to take a shortcut, no, it's going to be very precise. The first time, you can use the beat jump just to jump ahead by half a beat. You can also do other things like, we've dubbed it unofficially, the cheek juggle. Battle DJs hate this, but that's okay. I'm going to show it to you anyway. So the cheek juggle. This basically just mimics kind of the sound and the cadence and rhythm of a beat juggle. We're going to use 1/4 of a beat. Go to the top of the song, just hear it on the beat. And I'm just jumping it, kind of catching a different rhythm. This is 58 times easier than doing it with platters. Now, personally, I've never done this at a gig, but what I have used this for is in the studio. So if I ripped a record again, I want to come up with some clever way of flipping it, it's going to be very difficult for me to execute that with platters. Very easy for me to do it with the button. So it's just another option there if you want to come up with some different means of flipping your samples or performance ideas. You can also do the same thing, kind of corny, but slash funny. You can do the same thing using the quarter beat setting and jump forward. So let's see what happens when we use rock review. Same thing, jumping forward. So we can do the Carlton Dance remix on 80 tracks, turn a 4/4 to 6/8. Come back to 4/4. Would you do it at the gig? I don't know. Maybe you would. Again, I would use it at the studio. I've taken songs and changed the time signature basically. So oftentimes we'll play loops. Okay, so we're listening to this, kind of doing the same thing. If I go to my beat jump, I can jump the loop around, it's going to stay in time. So in this case, I'm going to be able to take these strings that are kind of just climbing, and I'm going to make those strings move around. You guys get the idea. So those strings by itself playing normally just kind of climb, and now you can hear they're jumping around. I'm doing that just by taking that loop and using the beat jump feature to jump it around.